Hello, gorgeous light being. Welcome to the Earth and I space where we elevate together. Today's video is going to be on this idea of change, this truth of change, and its ever presence in our lives. We're going to dive into how identity is so closely tied into change and into the ability to change. With that being said, please subscribe, like, leave feedback, or any ideas that you would like for me to discuss in this space. I would so appreciate that, and thank you for being here. When we decide that we want to change, whether this is a big step or it's something we are kind of on the circle with, we have to take tabs of what we're identifying with in the present moment. The reason why is because if we have any kind of desire to change, it's rooted in our desire to change what we identify with. Our identity is like the section of soil that we choose to root ourselves in. It's such a gift because this can absolutely change. It can continue changing. It's not always easy. Why is because for so long in our lives, we have been magnetizing, we have been reaffirming an identity that a lot of times has been put onto us. What do I mean by identity? What is identity? Identity is what you choose, what you decide represents you in the world. What you choose accurately aligns with who you believe yourself to be. Now, we can get locked into a very earthly perception of identity, and that's okay, but we have to be aware that we're in that space because we are energy. All of us are energy, and our realness exists in our souls. We come to earth and we start interpreting our souls and finding mediums and expressions for our souls. When we form attachments, we're forming attachment to things that we really, really believe represent who and what we are, whether we're conscious of it or not. Now, this representation is rooted in our identity. And how we form our identity is that we make agreements with ourselves that affirm a particular idea. For example, if you identify as a lazy person, this is going to be a deep identity because we have conscious and unconscious identities. So a deep identity is that you're a lazy person. Your idea of relaxing is flopping around, doing unhealthy things. And you've defined that as your form of relaxation. And you decide to define that as lazy. And therefore, since you participate in that behavior over and over and over again, you agree to that being who you are, and it therefore moves into the space of being an aspect of your identity. We have tons and tons of these. We don't take the time to look at them because a lot of them aren't so pretty, aren't so socially acceptable. That's a perfect example of one. I believe a lot of people, a lot of us have this underlying tone that of identities that are so untrue, that are so unelevating, but we've chosen them. We're consciously reaffirming these ideas. And you cannot change unless you change what you identify with, who you identify as. And that's a big aspect of the spiritual path, spiritual ascension, is that you're choosing to fully identify and represent yourself as an esoteric, as a soul, as an undefined essence. And from there, you can start building very fluid agreements, very broad, open, expansive agreements. As I said earlier, a lot of our identifications are so earthly, like For example, asking someone, who are you? And in the past, I would use all descriptive words of basically my ego, my earthly self. But now when I'm asked that question, I don't even know what I would respond. I would just let it come out. Whatever came out, I would let come out, because I don't have such a formed identity. I don't have such a boxed in structure that I need to uphold and manage so that what's out there is acceptable, is presentable. And I'm very grateful to be able to realize this, because this is a result of change. This is a result of rewiring my identities. And I'm sure that you have a story of that too. Everybody does. That's what's so beautiful. No matter where you are right now in your journey, no matter where you want yourself to be, you have a story that has already gone through this process. Now it's time to bring awareness to that so you can more consciously, more creatively ascend into that process over and over and over, and create the results that truly align with your soul, with your mission, with your fulfillment. And take a minute to think about how you have changed in terms of shifting your identity, in terms of breaking agreements and creating new ones. And be proud of yourself, be grateful, be excited of the fact that you know that you can change. You understand the process. We're just here because we want to do more. We want to be more. We want to understand more. We want to co-create more. And let's continue on. So, with identity, these agreements are super important because a lot of them are subconscious agreements. And when we look at them, we do not consciously agree to this, yet this is what's running in our programs. We agree to accept the bare minimum from someone as long as they give us blank, as long as they give us love, as long as they give us some kind of attention. We agree to an unfulfilling job as long as it pays the bills, as long as it, and we've created this whole stigma around our soul, around our lives, and we're reaffirming it every single day. So to be able to sit down and think, bring to mind, go into meditation about what agreements you hold in your heart, in your mind, in your life, and which ones you would like to change. I approach this with, I am willing to change all the agreements I have with myself at the present moment. This signals to universal intelligence that you're ready to upgrade however you're being called. And find that for you. By disattaching from all of the agreements you have, you empower yourself to make a more cosmic step, to make a more creative step. You're showing God, I am fully here for you. I am fully here for soul mission, and wherever that's going to take me, I'm willing to go, and I'm willing to go to my depths. I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to defend any longer. And this is a big place where the ego protects, because you've made all these agreements in your life. Those agreements have led you to this identity, and you're maintaining this identity all the time. And your ego feels the need to really, really lock into this identity because it's able to perceive it. It understands identity because most of the time it's of earthly essence. It's of earthly materials, ideas, perceptions, etc. So when we start getting really deep into some of these ideas, we start facing a lot of resistance, and that's okay. What the key is recognizing when you're facing triggers that are going to lead you to behaviors that are going to reaffirm the undesired agreements. Smoking. When we smoke cigarettes, we identify as a smoker. It's rooted in our what do I want to call that? In our life library. that we're a smoker. And so there's a book, I'm a smoker. And every time that we smoke, we fill out a journal entry to reaffirm the cover that I'm a smoker. And then this turns into a whole series, because there's a book about when you get triggered, that you're mad, when you're alone, blah, 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 that all go back to affirming that I'm a smoker. Until one day you pick up the book and you start reading this and it does not align. It does not feel fulfilling. So what you have to do is you have to be willing to read that story, feel the emotions, and consciously choose a different outcome. Consciously choose a new choice. And taking it with baby steps, just being aware, I'm being triggered right now and I want to smoke a cigarette. That's where you can start. You can start wherever you feel uncomfortable enough to still be conscious, to still progress. When we change, when we get into true life flow change, we become completely unidentified in terms of the earthly realm. We become completely fluid, because what we're agreeing to is constantly changing. And this should be all of our end goal, because God didn't send us here to create some facade for ourselves or to create an image. We're here to walk a path of our own to fulfill a destiny for the greatest good of all. And that takes change, that takes ascension, that takes remembrance of higher realms, so that we're not playing this, we're not trapped in the earthly game. And how it starts is taking account of where our identity is rooted, where our soil patch is. And it's such a beautiful thing, because we can change anything. We can shift anything. And how we can really identify our identity, our agreements, is by looking at our repetitive behaviors, our patterns. So how I kind of see it is, our identity is the seed. All right. Our soil patch is, or I said the soil patch is our identity. The agreements are the seeds that we plant in our soil patch of our identity. And our behaviors, our thoughts, and our ideas are what bloom out of the seeds. Realize that you have this fertile garden within you. I have one within me. Everyone has one within them. And it's their own unique garden that only they will understand, that will only respond to them. Yours will only respond to you. And create that safe space to communicate with your garden, to understand your garden, to learn your garden, to be vulnerable with your garden. And when we choose change, we're constantly interacting with our garden. We're constantly taking care of our garden. We're constantly communicating with it. And that's where this fluidity comes in, because it's just a flowing motion, always taking accountability of where we are, what can change, where should I direct my attention at in this present moment. And you only learn through experience, through trying, through failing, through practice, through finding, through discovery. It's not all about thoughts. It's about consciously being aware of taking a step, shifting in a new direction, going into the unknown, and doing it consciously and understanding your own intentions. And your intentions are rooted in your soul mission and what you're called to be doing. So the key is simply create that space for yourself. And I hope that these visual ideas aided you in some way. And remember that you can shift your garden at any time. You can move your garden at any time. You just have to be willing to do so. Willing to take down the gates, break down the walls, and be there with it. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for your work on your journey. And may all your blessings find their way to you easefully. Have a wonderful day, to a wonderful life, and to a brand new garden.